All right, now we've got audio. Imagine that. What I'm trying to say is, if you can hear me, is basically this isn't necessarily Bitwig only, even though it's taking place in Bitwig. What we're doing here is just showing you how to create a song, mostly electronic music. I settled with an electronic music song just mainly because it's going to be probably the thing that's most available to you, and it'll be probably the most helpful. I don't know if this microphone is loud enough. I'm trying to, you know, make that work for you guys. But anyway, like I said, if you have Bitwig, great. If not, it still pretty much applies. I just want to show you a song I was working on with someone yesterday. They were singing, I did harmony vocals, and then I did all the music. So to show you a little bit what can be achieved, I'm waiting for this guitar plugin to update here. This is our mixer view, if you're wondering what just happened. But we're just loading the plugins here. This will say this until the plugin has been loaded. It's got a pretty intensive library on this, and then it has to make sure is loaded. I think that everything is on. I'm just gonna double check it because looks like I've had a few things turned on. I don't remember exactly how good it sounded when we were done. We'll find out. Gosh, I keep banging the keyboard here. Yeah, sorry this is taking a minute. It usually, takes a little bit to get this guitar loaded. It's a newer plugin for me. I got it. It's called Hellraiser, and it is a metal guitar. If it's loaded enough, I can show you the interface for it. Let me just double click that, and it looks like it's not. But yeah, that takes a second. Hopefully I won't have to restart because it is seeming to take longer than it usually does. And it's not really important that we do this in this program. I just wanted to kind of show you. Let's go ahead and start a new file, and I'll get back to that shortly when everything's good and loaded. So this is Bitwig, and basically it's a lot like a lot of other digital audio workstations, or DAWs, if you've heard that term. You're going to have your transport controls somewhere, file, play, stop, record. Your readout here, this is basically going to tell you your beats per minute, your tempo, where you are, if your metronome is on or not, the little tick-tock thing that keeps you in time. It tells you where your loop is if you set one. Bitwig's a little different. Some of the menu stuff is in different places than it is in others. This is for adding an audio track and so forth. And you can make custom buttons for your toolbar if you need them. Like if you don't want to have to come in here to find the instrument track adding, you can right click to add one, or you can just come over here too to this little pin, and it'll create a button specifically right there now for adding an instrument track. You can click again and make an audio track right next to that. I mean, you could just do this all day long, right? It'll make little buttons that allow you to do that. If you want a button for inserting cue markers, you could throw that there. So if you don't have some of these buttons, it's because I've just did that to give you an example. So normally you're going to have like an area where all of your tracks are. And here's the first track, the second one. And as you click on them here in Bitwig, we have that information come over here on the left. You might have it come up on the right if it's different software, or the bottom, or whatever. This is something not a lot of DAWs have unless you're using Ableton Live. And this is like a scene triggering area where you can throw in a sample and have it trigger, or you have everything in this column trigger, or etc. We're going to just back out of that for now because it's not something the basic user is probably going to use, I don't think. This will show you where all of your inputs and stuff are, this, which channel and stuff. Right now the master is down here because if we click on master, that's what we'll see. If we click on effects, that's what we'll see. Here's that effects channel. And you can put stuff on these to have other things go to those and go through it and all that. But right now we're just going to worry about adding an instrument. And when we add something, it'll come up in this lower view, and everything in that channel, including the instrument or any effects devices that we've added to it, will all show up here. Very much like Ableton Live, but this is, in my opinion, a more advanced software. You can do a lot more stuff with it. Over here on the right is kind of like your library. It's categorized here and, you know, devices and, you know, everything or whatever you want. And when you click in this area to add something, it brings up another kind of view of the library where you can sort of do the same thing, you know, different instruments, everything, plug-in, you know, like note effects, I should say, audio effects, plugins, and so on and so on and so on. So you get the idea, I hope. So basically, when you write a song in a DAW like this, you're going to record either audio, like a guitar that's plugged in, or your voice or something through a microphone, or you're going to create a digital instrument. And in here, our instruments look like this by default: instrument 1, audio 2 if it's an audio track. And there's a couple ways you can get here like I showed you, but I'm just going to go over here to the everything and just look for an instrument. And let's just find something they have in Bitwig. And I'm going to say a polysynth, probably. Polymer or polysynth. Let's take polysynth. And the way you use it is you'll click and drag it usually over to the track you want it on, or onto the below those tracks, and it'll create a new one here. But let's do it on the track that exists already, and you'll see it populates that track, puts the device in the bottom. So now if you have a MIDI keyboard, you're playing the sound. To change sounds, you can obviously adjust all of these knobs to your liking. And they change quite drastically depending upon what you're trying to do. And let me turn on a track to where you guys can actually hear this. I'm not sure why you're not hearing it, but let me sort that out. It's real simple. I have a plugin that lets me do that easily here to our master track. We'll just pop that on there and make sure you guys can hear it real quick. There we go. Now you can hear it better. So there's the polysynth. And that's not all it does. Obviously it has multiple instruments, but down here there's a little thing you can click on to make it, not that one, I'm sorry, the polysynth. You can click on this little thing here and it will pop out a pop-out window to show you certain things that are going on and things you can drag around and change and do. But the biggest one, and let's go back to our other view by just double-clicking on polysynth. I'm sorry, or just coming back to track view by going to back to our arrange. No, we're still stuck in there. Let me fix that right here. Where are we at, guys? There we go. That's the pop-out right here. This works with any plugin, but it's different depending upon the plugin you're using. But to get a different sound in here, or a preset, we will click on the folder. It brings up this view I showed you a minute ago, and all of these now are the presets for this polysynth. So if we just click on one time, a single click, we'll get a preview of it in our device. Let's try this dark pad. This Daddio lead. Cyborg Shanty. So there's tons and tons and tons of presets. Some of them are sound effecty, some of them are arpeggiated, some of them are pads. Let's use this pad. I'm going to just click OK now, because if you clicked away, it would just get rid of the device. So you need to say OK. So now if we want, we can just play a couple of chords. So I'm going to use those 4 notes. Now, how do we get this sound into the DAW? How do we make it make a song Well, we need to record something onto this track. So we're going to arm our track by hitting this red button, which already is hit. And that will allow us to play the synth for one. Otherwise, we couldn't play it. And so we're going to click record there, and we're going to click record here. Now you want to make sure your timing is set to the speed you want. I'm going to set this one to about 80 by double clicking on the time there, typing in 80, and this will play 80 beats every minute. So basically when we run the metronome, which we need to turn on right here, when we push play, that's showing us the timing, and you'll hear that annoying click, which we can turn it off later. Don't worry, it's not going to record the sound of that click. So we're going to go and we're going to wait. It's going to count us 4 beats and then start. And I'm just going to start playing chords, or at least notes, like right here at that time. So here we go. 2, 3, and. Alright, so there is our recording. Now if you look, you can drag right here in this black bar and it will give you either a pencil, which we want to avoid for now. Just move it up a little bit, you'll get the magnifying glass. And when you move up or down and drag, it gives you the ability to zoom in and out. This bar obviously slides you back and forth. So with these notes here, you can see recorded, these little black lines. If we double click on this piece, your bottom window is going to change. And now we can see those notes in here. And if some of them are off like this, believe it or not, as long as the arrow is selected here, you can click on it and drag that note. It'll also play the note when you drag on it. Okay? When they're all lined up the way you think they should be, which could be off or on, it's up to you, because these could have been played a little early. Plus, you can also change the note by grabbing them and dragging them up or down. So this one, if it's not the right note, you can go. Get the idea? Alright, so there it is. And now when we play by hitting the space bar or the play button up here, you can almost hear they come in late to that click, but that's just because they fade in. That's okay for now, unless we're not going to like it later. Now, something else we can do is you wonder, well, how do you change the volume? Well, when you play harder on your keyboard, it typically adds a higher volume to those notes. But how do we see that and edit it? Right down here, there's this Show Note Expressions button we can click on. It's very small. We click on it, and now we get those volumes for every hit. So if we wanted these to be a little bit louder, you just click it and drag on it and move that dude right up. And if we want them all the same, you can click and drag on all of them, pull them all the way up to the top, and then pull them down, and they'll be all the same now. So as we play again, alright, you get the idea. So we're to close this window. One easy way to do it is just to go back here to the pad track and double click on it, and it will jump down back to your synthesizer. Now there's other things you can do in here. All of these little controls we can close up just like this. That's the way it normally will look, but as you click on these, it opens up macro controls to where we can add more or less effects with one turn instead of doing all this stuff, things like that. Or we can also go here and open up the modulations, and these things, when you click on them, give you different kinds of modulators you can have. This one's a random. These are all randoms. But if you click and drag these over to, or click on these, all these turn green here, then you can click on any of these green things and move it up or down to show the range that you want that to have when it activates. So let's click on this again, and now you'll see as I play, This actually goes through a range of shaping based on that random thing we just said. It's absolutely crazy. There's a whole lot more things you can do, but that's the general idea. You can also use your modulations from here to affect, you know, other things as well. So let's say the sync here now we're going to use, and we're going to animate that basically. And now when you play, you get the idea. So let's go ahead and undo that. So our shape is randomly bumping up and down. All right, so let's add a beat to this of some kind. Most electronic songs have a good beat, so let's just look up drum. And now there's 100 different ways to do this. You can use samples or anything else, but a drum machine is going to be the most straightforward. So let's just click and drag that drum machine to its own track here by just clicking and dragging it to an empty space. It'll create its own track here now. If we double click on it, if it's not already selected, you'll see it show up here in the bottom. There are no drums in here, and if you play your keyboard, you can see these different pads light up, but there's no sound. A couple different ways you can add sound is either click on a plus, which will bring up different drums. So we can just say, as an example, we're going to use this tom. Let's see what it sounds like when you click on that key. I don't really care for that one. We say cancel. You can also load entire drum kits by clicking on the folder. So if we go here, we can just kind of hover that, and now it's loading all the samples in. It's going to take a second before we can hear it. Once this little message at the top right goes away, we should be able to hear our samples coming through. So it's got the bass drum loaded. It's loading a few others. Not my favorite drum kit. I'm going to try this acoustic drums clean just as a difference, and it'll take a second for those to load in as well. And you just got to wait. Patience, man, patience. It's a good way to learn it. All right, we're just waiting for that. I'm not sure why we're not getting a live preview. Okay, some are not working as well as others, evidently. And if that's the case, what I want to do is find an electronic kit anyway, so it'll just give me a minute to do that. Don't know why this isn't loading. I'm going to go ahead and say OK at least and see if it will load at that point. It doesn't seem like we're getting it though. I don't know why. They're all lighting up. It's just not finding those particular samples. So I'm going to go and hit this one more time, see if there's a different way to find it. It's trying. All right, let's just go ahead and use this one just because it's here. Now those sound very plain, right? If we wanted to, we could add a little bit of a reverb effect to them. And either we can go in here to where it says effects for the drum kit specifically, or we can add an effect at the end outside of that drum kit. There are benefits to doing that, but let's just click on the effects here so it's specifically for it. And right now they already have 4 effects in here. And you can see we just sort of popped that out. There's an EQ, there is a stereo phaser, there are filters, and an FX layer with no effects in it. So they've got a compression in there right now, but we could add another one right here. And let's just add a reverb. When that pops up, you just type in rev, and reverb will come up at the top. It's just a good basic reverb. We say OK. And now when you click and play, there's a little more of that hollow room sound, right? So let's leave that. Let's go scroll back over if we want. You can click on this effects button again, and it will hide all that stuff. Not my favorite drum kit still. So let me play a little thing here to test. All right, let's go ahead and record a track or a take. So with our drum track selected, we can click this red button here. If you're not hearing sound, it's because that arm button is not armed. And with that selected there, we go up to the main recording button. And when we click this, it's going to give us a 4 count again, and we can play along all the way through to however as far as we want and record that doing its thing. So let's try making a little take here. 4. And there it is. Now, if you have this set this way, which I think it is by default, you can make the notes enter perfectly on time, within reason, with what's called quantizing. So I have mine set right here at the bottom right of the little window here to 1/16. So with these settings, adaptive, 1/16, straight, snap to grid, etc., exactly like this is, you're going to get the same results that I did here. Now, it places those, it places those notes perfectly on the grid. Now, if we double click on this recording we just did, MIDI take, we double click it, it just shows up here in the bottom, and you can see where all the notes landed, and they're perfectly on a grid. So let's play and see what it looks like when it plays through those. Now, before we do that, I'm going to turn off the metronome because it kind of overrides the beat. Just click that again and try here again. Nice. So now we need usually some kind of bass, and that's just the warm low end sound that sort of pulls everything together and gives it a basis. So let's just go ahead and find a bass. We'll just clear our search over here and click type in bass, and we're gonna get a whole bunch of different ones. I own a lot of different plugins, but the ones that come with Bitwig are good enough, or your own DAW. So we click, just to test out what we've got. I'm going to go ahead and actually, let's do this instead. Right here at the plus sign or below it, let's just go ahead and right click in the open spot and click add instrument track. Now we have this track here appear. If we double click on it, we can see it opens up a lane here in the bottom. Let's single click on this 4th track, go up here and rename this right in this little dialog box to bass. I like to do my stuff this way, and you'll see what I mean. It gets confusing when you have a bunch of different colors and it's just named things like track 3. We don't want that. So I'm going to delete this audio track by clicking on it and hitting my delete key. And now we're left with these 3. This one says deep pad. It is a synth, and I usually color code my synthesizers orange or something like that. So right over here to the left here, you can see that when I click on this, that the orange is selected. When I come down here, this is my drums. I typically like those on the top, so I'm going to move that up because that's the basis of this sound, and not the bassist, but the basis. And then I move down as I get to things like vocals or detailed instruments. So right here though, we're going to click once on it, and I'm going to highlight the green to where my drums turn green, which is usually the code for me for my drums. I'm going to drag my bass track right next to it because I like my bass right next to my drums because they're kind of the foundation of the whole song. And that bass track highlighted, I'm going to select red because I like my bass red. When I look at a screen and I can see a red track, I know that's my bass. So right away, let's go select that bass track. We're going to go ahead and click the plus here in the bottom lane, and now we know all this that comes up is bass, or at least bass related. Actually, it's not. So it's just going to be all the instruments we can choose from until we type in the word bass. So sorry about that, folks. Now we've got basses, and we can test them out. So when I click on it once, it brings it up into my lane, which means my keyboard can right away be able to play and preview it. That one's kind of cool. I think it'll go with it. Let's go ahead and click OK. That is another polysynth with a different sound on it. So we can play this back and preview now. So let's go ahead and record that. Same thing as before. Make sure your track is highlighted. That is the one you have the armed record button for. We come up here, make sure our blue arrow is at the start, because this determines where we start recording from. And we click on this record button, and it'll bring us in with a 4 count, and then we can play. 3, 4. So that was not perfect, but that's a good opportunity to show you. When you're done, you have that big red line where the bass was recorded. We double click it again, and now we're in that bass MIDI note piano roll. If you can't see your notes, you could probably scroll down, and there they are right here. All the notes I played are here, and you can move them around, make them longer or shorter, or delete them, or even double click in an area and add a new one. So editing is really simple in a piano roll. So you can zoom in, just like before, zoom out, and I'm just going to play along and see where my notes might be wrong. Right here. And I want a note right here, so I just double click there, and there's my note. And if I want 2 notes, bum bum, then I'm going to put one right next to the other one and try again. So there are a couple mistakes. I'm going to go back and just listen. I'm going to turn off our pad so we can just hear the drums and this bass. And I kind of want to make sure this one is an octave higher. So let's try that again. And we need a don't right here as well. So I'll double click one in there and take this one and click and drag it over. Let's get rid of the one I know is wrong. So you can start from here now. We can start over from there. But let's listen to it with everything one more time. I'm going to disarm the track so we can just not accidentally select recording. And here we go. So pretty good. Now I need something probably to enhance the sound a little, because right now it's really good, but it's just very basic. So if we add something in with a higher frequency, well, our kick and snare and the little hi-hat, that little hi-hat has a little high frequency, which brightens the overall sound of it. It doesn't sound like it's just muffled. But we need something else kind of running through there, in my opinion, to give it a little bit more of a frequency spread, you know, to show more frequencies and make it more interesting. Right now, everything's also pretty slow, except for the bass notes. They're pretty up there, but we'll see what I'm talking about here in a sec. I'm going to go ahead and click here to create a new instrument. But before I do that, let's create a new track again. So right click, add instrument track. And when we double click on it, we get this lane open up. And now we can add our instrument to that. So I'm just going to click here on the plus. And right now, I think something that would be maybe an arpeggiator or an arpeggiated sound. So usually we'd find that under like a sequence. So SEQ, and let's just see what comes up when we single click and preview that. That would be percussion. Let's move down to the next one. Cool, but not what we're looking for, and I'm just going to keep going. Different. That one doesn't seem to be working. This one here. There's so much going on behind the scenes that sometimes it gets a little stuck. Let me cancel this and go here and try again. Sometimes it gets a little finicky, so. It's getting real finicky. Definitely different. I'd like to have something a little more glittery or chimey or bell-like. That is not it. Let's see. That's kind of cool. Let's use that. So I'm going to say okay. And if we have to turn it up, we can turn it up right here in the track, because that's what these orange bars are, is that's your volume for each track individually. And let's just see what this sounds like when we press play. It's a nice, really chill vibe. And you're not hearing it very, very loud or strong, but you know, we could go up an octave and play it here. What? Why are you meowing, cat? My cat is meowing at me a lot right now. All right, so let's try that again, but we'll do it a little bit higher. Pretty cool. I'm going to do it on that octave, but also the one lower at the same time and see what it sounds like. But I'm going to record it this time. So here we go with the 4 count in. 3, 4. Interesting. So when we double click on that particular track, we should be able to scroll down and see our chords, our notes, and they all look perfectly timed. So let's just play that back once. I'm going to disarm that track. Just upped the bass just a tiny bit. Now, we don't know what this is. That's deep pad. We'll go with that. But this needs to be kind of like our little chimes. So I'm going to just click on that track once and come over here and write chimes. So we know what it is when we're looking at it. Also, this is a synth, but it's also kind of like a drum, but I think I'm going to go with a synth on this one too. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that again and color code this guy orange, maybe even a little bit brighter orange. So we know that that's a synth, but it's not really synthy-like. Okay, it's more like synthy-loo-hoo. Okay, let's go back in now and figure out what else we could use. There may be some more percussion here. So I'm just going to go over here to this, to the search on the right. And I'm going to type in percussion just to see what's there. Now you can have all kinds of samples, not just devices. So let's go ahead and throw in some samples for the heck of it. I'm going to actually click down here and right click, add audio track. This is something you haven't worked with yet. Effects are a bit different on audio tracks. Certain things you can do on them and not on instrument tracks and vice versa. But we're just going to take something that has a sound like this sample right here. And when we click on it once, we'll get a preview of the audio playing. Right here in the bottom. So it's going to go on its original speed, but after you drag it into the track here, it will change it, cut it, and change it to the tempo of the track you have. So let's go check that out. Let's look at the one below it here too, just for the heck of it. That's interesting. It's fast, but let's take it and drag it in on our track. See what happens. Pretty interesting. Now if we click on our track once and we come down here to the lower left, you can see this line here. If you move it to the right, it moves the sound to your right speaker, and if you move to the left, it moves it more to your left speaker. I'm going to show you while it's playing. I'm going to push this a little bit more to the left speaker. I think that makes it sound a lot better. I'm also going to cut this bit off that shouldn't be here. So how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, you come over here until your cursor makes this eye shape. You click on it, and now you can see that it's going to cut right there. But we need to go here to our tools, click on the drop down, and come down to the knife tool. I personally always just click number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got the numbers here too. Learn those shortcuts, people. So with the knife tool selected, I can go right here where it shows up on this track, and I can go right there and cut perfectly on that line. You want your snapping selected. That's this little orange dot, orange icon right here. You turn your snapping on, so it will click to the nearest line. And I'm going to go hit the 1 on the keyboard, which takes me back to my regular selection tool. And with that piece selected, I'm going to hit delete, and it's gone. So let's listen to this, and I'm going to turn up and down this track to kind of get it at the right volume. So I select in the top here to move my blue arrow back to the start and hit play. Okay. So this device is what's making this sound the way it is. What I want to do is I want to add some reverb, probably some delay or something in there, just to make it a little softer and in the background and a little more, I don't know, less upfront and direct. So let's just kind of go back in this post effects here, or let's just go outside of this altogether and hit the plus sign here. And now we can just type in delay, just DEL. We're going to use this delay plus that comes with Bitwig. We're going to say OK, and now you're going to hear the difference, because what this does is it adds a repeat, like an echo, but not like a hollow room. It's like an echo that is the same thing over and over and over, but getting quieter as it goes away, if you don't know what a delay is. I put solo on the track right here with the S button. I'm going to turn the delay off. You hear how it cuts off, and it's very what it is. But if I turn that delay on now, hear the repeats? It's pretty cool. Now if we hit the plus sign again and type in reverb, or rev for reverb, we click on the reverb, we can say okay, and now it'll give us more of a sound that it's in a space, a room, and it's pushed back as far as we decide to set it. An easy way to handle that right now is just to turn the mix knob up or down, however much of this effect you want. So I'm going to start over, and if you turn it way up, see how hollow and pushed in the back it is. Just going to pull it back up now. Find a good spot for it. It's to taste, whatever you want, and we'll press play with everything on now. Now let's find something else to add. I'm just going to click on this part here, right click and say add instrument track, and I want to find something that's a true arpeggiator that goes ba 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 ba, something along those lines. That sounds a lot better than I just did. So we're going to click on that. We're in that channel now, or that row or aisle or lane as I like to call it. We're going to click on the plus sign here, and I'm going to look for another sequence, but I want something kind of faster and more interesting. So let's go with this guy and just see what it sounds like. A little weird. Let's keep going. It's not updating us. I don't know why. Looks like it's trying in the upper right here. There's a little spinny thing that happens when it's trying to load. And some of these you need to press more than one note at a time to get them to actually sequence. And some of these are just single notes, so you can use it in a sequencer. And some of them are called sequences when they're not. So I'm just trying to give you the rundown on what to look out for. Getting closer. I'm just going through and finding stuff now. Let's go back to this one and see if maybe there's some also, like I said, if you hold multiple notes, it'll run up and down those scales. I'm just looking, see if there's something already sequenced, you know? Interesting. Now you can use other instruments for your sequencing. That's a little fast overall. And there's so many different things because anything can be sequenced. And I'll have to show you this probably with a different instrument. So a lot of these are That's not bad, it's just a little fast. Wow, sorry about that. Okay, so this is, you can hold down 3 notes, let's say. Trying to find something that just kind of goes through the range of notes. These are all weird. You can't tell. Alright, let us find something specifically. Lead. Sound effects, synth, bass. This is more of what I'm talking about. I was just trying to find something that, you know, while we were live here. But you get the idea. Let's go ahead and play one. So we'll just record that now. 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to double click on my track. We can see the timing of it here. It looks good. Perfect. And we can play that back now. And if I'm not happy with that, I can grab all of these notes and move them up 1 octave. Idea. That is not the instrument I would choose for that. So in saying that, let me show you an instrument that I have on here that is something that is not included. And you can get these things are included though. I forgot about this. Any of the ones that look like they have this little section here, that's not a plug. It's showing some MIDI notes in a line. But this is a good way to show the same thing. Let's just find something nice and higher up. These are all so weird. Not really what I'm looking for. Let's use that. So we just drag this right out on our track and we're ready to go. Okay, so what that is though is a note effect. So that's not the actual sound. So to do that, we drag this out onto an empty area that doesn't already have a sound. It should come with the one that it was previewing with. Now it will not be in the correct note scale, so we can do that whole thing again where we grab all of our notes and find what the root note is going to be for this, which is probably going to be this first note, I'm guessing. Funky, but you don't even have to use these sequences or anything if you don't want to. All of this can be done. All of this can be done with playing sounds and samples and playing the notes yourself. I like to create my own arpeggiations, so I can show you with a synth of some kind. So let me just go in here and look for something. Let's just use a polygrid or a poly synth again. A polymer. Let's use a polymer this time. Just going to throw it on top of this guy, and it'll change over to this. So now we have just a regular synth, and I'm going to find something that's kind of interesting for it. Seems like I'm only finding the weird stuff today. Let's find something useful. Just looking for something kind of... Let's use this club chord. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. And I'm going to go with a higher register here. Move my monitor out of my way. So I'll make a little sequence. I don't know if it'll work. So I'm just going to repeat that by dragging the end over. And here at the bottom, you get some different icons when you move your mouse to different places, but we want to get this one here, and then when we click and drag out, it does a repeat of what we just did. So we press play. It. You make up different parts of the song, you export that sucker out, and you're done. Cool. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I'll have some more tutorials and videos up today coming soon. I'm going to do some stuff with Moho again, if you guys are following along with that, and plasticity and so forth, and definitely more music stuff. So come back and we'll talk soon.